Are we living in a simulation? Is this reality that we are living in right now a simulated reality? These are interesting questions. But what I find more interesting is the idea that if this is a simulated reality that we are living in, why was it simulated? And not only that, if it was simulated, why was it simulated so that we age, suffer, and die? These are big questions. I've spoke about this on another video, but I'm going to go deeper here, okay? Now, one argument for the fact that we are living in a simulated reality comes from Nick Bostrom. Nick Bostrom, a known associate of Jeffrey Epstein, allegedly, he says that basically, if a civilization was to become advanced enough technologically to simulate a reality within a computer, then we are more likely living in that simulation than not living in that simulation. Does that make sense? Think of it like this. If an advanced race in the future could simulate realities, it would simulate 1 million different universes. So it's more likely that we are in one of these simulations than in the baseline reality. Or even if you could simulate a reality, then that reality could simulate another reality within that reality. Therefore, it's simulations all the way down, cubes within cubes within cubes within cubes. It's more likely that we're in one of these simulations than the baseline reality. But this doesn't answer the question why. Why simulate a universe with suffering and death? Some people say that it's just for research purposes. Other people say it's for entertainment. Some people say that it's us in the future simulating our past for some reason. These are all interesting theories, but they feel a bit flat to me. To answer the question, why simulate a reality like this, you have to ask the question, who? Who would simulate a reality like this? Now, to potentially help us answer this question, we have to look at a theory that sits alongside the simulation theory, the idea of the singularity. Now, the singularity idea was popularized by Ray Kurzweil, another known associate of Jeffrey Epstein, allegedly. Now, he says that in the future, we will become so technologically advanced that we will be able to merge our minds with machines. And through this, we will create an exponential growth of intelligence. Our intelligence will grow so fast, so quickly, that we will reach a godlike intelligence within no time. And once we reach this godlike intelligence, we will be able to simulate realities for ourselves. Now, what's interesting, not many people discuss what happens after this singularity point, when we merge our minds with machines and together, and we reach this state of immortality, and we have this godlike intelligence. What happens next? Well, Lawrence Krauss, another known associate of Jeffrey Epstein, allegedly, as you can see, there's a pattern emerging here, right? Lawrence Krauss says, actually, the idea that we are living in a simulation is a load of bullshit, because he's a physics guy, and he says that this physical reality that we are living in cannot be reduced to computation. It gets a bit complicated. He basically says that on a quantum level, it's non-algorithmic, therefore we are not able to computate this reality. But what he's talking about is the idea that we are living within a machine. But this is a very small-minded way of thinking of the singularity or a simulation, because if we did reach this singularity point in the future, we would not be bound by a machine in any way, right? This physical reality, we would be able to manipulate it to our will. Do you see what I'm saying? Maybe there's a better way of saying this. See, if we did reach a true singularity point, this new prime intellect that we would morph into would not be bound by digital computation, right? It would be able to master physics and control matter and energy to its will. It could make this universe like a runtime environment for itself. Does that make sense? Like, reality itself would become a hardware for this prime intellect, and it would be able to simulate or create a universe like this for itself. Now remember, if we connect our minds to machines, this always results in the hive mind, because our minds will connect to other people's minds and they will overlap each other. And this always results in one single intellect every single time. Ben Goertzel talks about this, another known associate of Jeffrey Epstein, allegedly. Ben Goertzel also said that he was going to create, or he talks about creating, a human obsoleting thinking machine back in 2008. Now that's interesting. Human obsoleting. Anyway. Now this is where the video gets a little philosophical. Yes, I'm going to get philosophical on your asses right now, because you have to with a crazy idea like this. Once you reach this singularity point, once you reach the hive mind prime intellect, a godlike state of intelligence, once you reach this point, life becomes meaningless, completely meaningless. What is the point? Because at this point, you will become immortal. You will live forever. You will have no limitations. You can manipulate the universe to your will. And there's no separation of minds. You are one single entity. You are one lonely entity, living forever. And without death, life becomes meaningless. Martin Heidegger talks about this. He calls it the being towards death, right? Life without death, life without limitations, life without the separation of minds becomes meaningless. At this point, you have post-singularity regret. That's what I like to call it, post-singularity regret. Once you reach this point of regret, what would you do? Well, you would have the ability to simulate or create a universe where you could experience what life was like before. You would have the ability to do this. And you would do this because you would realize the great mistake that you made, that immortality, that this prime intellect was not the end goal. This is not a success. This was a failure. And you would want to create a universe where you could put your consciousness into this universe and then live life as it should be, with time constraints, with limitations, with consequences, with death. You would want to experience that again. And that is the reason why anyone would simulate this reality. Well, this is just one theory. This is one of my theories. And also, I don't believe in this theory, by the way. I'm just putting it out there that I think people have not thought about this much, right? People that are pushing, people like Ray Kurzweil and other Jeffrey Epstein associates, people that are pushing for this point of singularity, they have to realize that this is not the golden path. This is the wrong way of going. Because once we reach that point, we will only want to recreate a reality where we can experience life as it should be, like it is right now. We would only want to go back. It would create a loop. It would create a loop, right? This would be the loop. Singularity, regret, create universe, create computers, create singularity. It would be a loop. We would always be stuck in this loop forever. So at some point we have to just know, right? We have to just say, no, we do not want to create this hive mind entity that will regret its decision of immortality, because immortality sucks, because we must die. Now, I'm losing it, right? Now, this is just one reason why I think this universe would be simulated, why something would want to simulate this universe, to just experience mortality again, you know, in a recursive loop, right? But this raises deeper questions, right? Like, you could ask, like, why did God create this universe? And some say in mystic belief systems that we are God experiencing itself. So that kind of links to this idea of us becoming God in the future through the singularity and then creating or simulating this universe in order to experience life as mortals again. Like I said, it gets really deep. But one thing I would say is becoming God is not all it's cracked up to be. And when you look at Jeffrey Epstein's associates and what they've been pushing, it gets weird, because it almost comes across like they are pushing this simulation theory onto us. And when you look at his other connections, like Richard Dawkins and Steven Pinker, or these people, right? The new atheist movement that preach that actually new atheism is the most moral way to live. When you hear stuff like that, you realize that these people, by the way, most moral way to live and being associated with Jeffrey Epstein, get over yourself. Come on, that's crazy, right? Anyway, when you think about this, it does feel like they are pushing atheism and pushing simulation, pushing anything that isn't the grounded religions that we have of monotheism. It's like they're pulling us away from that on purpose. Potentially. I don't know. It seems that way. Is there a reason for this? Are they doing this on purpose? Or are they just interested in these ideas themselves and they believe this for themselves? It's difficult to say, right? It's difficult to say. I want you to make that decision for yourself. What do you believe? Does this make sense? Does anything I said make sense? I'm just having fun. I like to have fun with these ideas. I like to push things around. Me, myself, I don't believe in this, of course. I have my own belief systems, which I will never express online, potentially. Who knows? Anyway,